gonna say was that you said a real key word there. You said passion.
Yeah. Come on.
It's been a while since I talked about my mat setup. It's been almost like a year. And in that year, a lot has changed, and I've tweaked some of my presentation. So I kind of wanted to update you and kind of lay out what I'm using to target and punch mats. And it all starts with the rod. The rod that I've found that I've really fallen in love with is a Pile Endurance 795. It's a 7-foot 9-inch rod, a little longer rod. It's a little softer than your average punching stick. I like it because I can really kind of yo-yo the bait and pump the bait and really feel for sort of those dead weight bites or those weight bites that really are tough to track down, especially with some of the finicky bites we've had down here on Okeechobee. I mentioned in my BFL video, it was really key having this rod because a lot of those fish weren't even biting the bait. They were just kind of, you'd lift, and then you'd feel a little change in the weight and the fish was there. So it all starts with the rod. The reel is a Corrado 200E7. This is pretty much equivalent to the contemporary Chronarch from Shimano. Just a real heavy duty. You can crank the drag all the way down. You're not going to fry it. I've had these for going on 3 years now, and it usually takes me about 3 months to get through a reel, and these guys have held up. So the reel's really key. If you're going to spend some money, you want to spend it on the rod and reel because that's what you're going to be connecting with the fish on. And the last thing you want to happen is, burning the drag out when you got a 7-pounder sitting under a mat. One of the things that I've changed that's kind of interesting, and it's going to be kind of weird how I'm going to frame it, is I've gone to what's called Daiwa Samurai braid. And what's kind of interesting is I'm going to tell you flat out, it breaks. It's not as strong as Power Pro, but the reason I've changed over to it, we've had so much pressure on the mats down here that I wanted something quieter, that when I was pumping the bait and really kind of yo-yoing it and taking my time, that I wasn't getting that grinding or that sawing sound that you get with Power Pro or your normal braided lines. And the trade-off is breaking fish off, and it does break, especially around harder cover. I'm not saying it breaks all the time, but frankly, from my perspective, it was worth taking that risk because I knew I was getting more bites because I wasn't making all that noise up in the mats. So I have changed over to 70-pound Daiwa Samurai braid. I won't flip that when I'm flipping cane, but anything when I'm pitching mats, even if it's around cane and that, I'm going to go with it. One thing I do kind of keep in the back of my mind is that it is a little bit more breakable, so I'll take it easy. I'll make sure to retie more often, and I'll look for nicks in the line. But I really think it makes a difference from a sound standpoint, and it gets you more bites. So it's a trade-off deal, but I've had success with it. The other thing is the hook and the weight. A lot of you guys know that I flip mats with a Hack Attack hook that's made by Strike King. It's a straight shank hook. The sizes I normally use are a 4/0 or a 5/0. I've been using the 5/0 a little more frequently. It just seems like I get a better connection with the fish and they stay hooked a little bit better. But if I'm going down to a real small, slender bait where the mats are really, really tight, I'll go down to that 4/0 because it's a more compact presentation to get on through. Weights are really key here too. There's two weights that I've really turned to, or two brands that I've really turned to. One is EcoPro. One of the main reasons is they make a 1.75. That size has really been key. It's not too heavy, it's not a 2 ounce, and it's not too light. I can get through, I'd say 95% of the stuff I want to get through with a 1.75, but I'm not getting the big whoosh, and I'm not losing fish because I'm using such a bulky, gigantic weight. The other weights that I'm really, really liking are Reins Weights. They do have an insert, so they're a little bit different, but what's nice is you don't need to use giant bobber stoppers to keep them pinned. And they tend to have a smaller profile than their equal comparison in another brand of weights. And I've noticed, especially when it comes to like a 1.5 or a 1 1/4, or as Reins calls it, a 1.2, they get through stuff that you need like a 1.75 or a 2 ounce to get through. They're just a smaller, more compact profile, and all these things kind of add together to create the best presentation for getting through the most and then keeping the fish connected. Bobber stoppers is another key. It seems like a small thing, but especially when you're dealing with the bigger weights, 1.75, 2 ounce, they have a large hole in them. And getting a bobber stopper that stops that hole, but also doesn't jam up in there, can really be key. And it can really get annoying when you start jamming bobber stoppers in there because you start wasting $10, $15 weights. I'm using 6th Sense, and as I mentioned in earlier videos, I run 2. What I actually do is I take a cheaper version and I run that as my first bobber stopper, and then I'll run my 6th Sense as the second, and it stops that weight without getting jammed up, and it's just a solid way to go. It covers my reins, it covers my EcoPro, and it's just great all around, and they don't burn off as fast as some of your real low-end bobber stoppers. When it comes to baits, you know, I use a wide range of stuff in the mats. To be perfectly frank, I like mixing it up. But if I'm searching for fish, or if I'm on fish and I know they're there, my two standards are the D&M Custom Baits, Big Mama, and the Gambler Why Not. This is the new redesign Why Not. You know, that beaver style bait and the Why Not with its sort of beaver style but more of a cross style body really cover you for just about any situation. They also provide a nice thick body so you're not having the snell knot pop out the hook all the time, because one thing that's super important is getting a good rhythm, getting consistent, and not sort of breaking up that pattern, because once you get in it, you get a feel for how those fish are set up, and you don't want to stop pitching to reset your bait every 3 pitches, every 3 flips. It really busts you up, and it busts up the way your rhythm is working, and that's hugely important. But these two guys cover me for most situations. You know, when it gets really tough, I'll go down to a BB Cricket. I got some other little sort of tweak baits, but when it comes down to it, these guys are the ones that really cash the checks and catch the big fish. Colors wise, you know, I'm not a big color guy. I keep it pretty simple. This is a hematoma type color. This is a green pumpkin black swirl. I like the darker colors, your June bugs, your green pumpkins, your black and blues. I think standard wise, those are the best ways to start off. Now, if you're dealing with super clear water, or you know, there's some kind of forage that has a special coloration or a special look to it, definitely you want to match those up to get the most out of what you're fishing. But to get started, to get rolling, you know, these kinds of colors, those darker green pumpkins, black blue swirls, are really going to do the job for you. But that kind of covers what I'm doing in the mats. You know, having a solid, strong, thought out presentation is really important, because oftentimes when you're punching mats, you're not that far away from the fish is in the nastiest junk, and the smallest thing to go wrong is going to cost you that big bite, because there's definitely big bites in there, man. When you start getting in those mats, especially pre-spawn, you know, that's when you're going to get your giant bites, and the last thing you want to do is blow it because you're not thinking ahead. But that's my general setup. I hope that helps you out. You can find all those products at Monster Fishing, and go out there and get punching on through, boys. Tight lines.